Hey, chiropractors, welcome to Modern Chiropractic Mastery with your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, where we discuss the latest in marketing, business, and professional growth with some of the leading experts in the industry. Welcome to another episode of Modern Chiropractic Mastery. This is your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, and today I'm excited to bring on a guest who has been on before, and she's helped me in my practice, my office, and that is Carolyn Boldt of Crossfield Design. We did a full renovation. I shouldn't say a full renovation. We did a pretty good renovation in 2022, not of structures and layouts and things, but we had to update. We 10 years in, things start to get outdated and, things started to get worn, and we did a full remodel of flooring and paint and decor and all kinds of stuff, some office furniture, and it really came out great. And very excited about that. We're going to bring her on today to have some updates on chiropractic design in 2025. Like what's, it changes. It changes. And, you'll be fooling yourself if you don't think having a nice office with good design, whether it's the flow of the office, which they work with, or it's the decor or color schemes, office furniture, it really makes a big difference. And we just wanted to touch base on some updates in 2025, how it relates to chiropractic design. And it does have an ROI. It does have an ROI. And so sometimes you need to figure out, when do I invest in that? And that's one of the topics we actually cover in our coming up online course called the Cash Confident Chiropractor. You can register by November 30th of 2025. The first lesson comes out on December 1st. And we cover everything from increasing revenues and profit margins. But one of the lessons we have down in lesson 5 is about reinvesting in your business, how and when to reinvest in your business and yourself professionally. It's not a one-size-fits-all topic, but we can definitely provide you with some guidance and ideas on when and how to reinvest profits and or use some debt for long-term growth strategically. And so that's lesson 5, reinvesting in your business. And remodeling your office or updating your office is reinvesting in your business. And we dive into that a little bit today. But if you're interested in the online course, go to bit.ly/MCM Cash. Sign up for that. You won't regret it. You're going to really, truly understand practice finances and how it also bleeds into your personal life by the time you're done with this 6-week course. So check that out at bit.ly/MCM Cash. And without further ado, here is my interview with Carolyn Boldt. All right. Excited to have Carolyn Boldt on the podcast for the third time. Surprisingly, I had emailed you to come back on, and I didn't realize it's been 3.5 years. I wanted to do an update show on just the 2025 trends going into 2026. And so thank you for hopping on. Just for reference, we did for our audience in April of 2021, we had you on talking about the ROI of office space and design. And then in March of 2022, we had you on the psychology of a really nice office space. And those were really well received and wanted to have you come back on. So what's new in your world?
What's new? Not a whole lot. Those two things still impact every decision that we make, is the ROI and the psychology. Absolutely. And I'm sure we can expand on that and see where we go from there.
And I'm sure, the psychology of an office space lends itself to increasing the ROI or decreasing the ROI of space and how that is interchangeable. And I don't think chiropractors and frankly, most healthcare providers take that into consideration as much as they should.
Well, one of the things that we did at the beginning of this year. So have you ever heard of evidence-based design?
No, I haven't.
So what's interesting is evidence-based design has been around for, 50 years. Mm-hmm. And it started with help with hospitals. Okay. And started with analysis, and an organization called the Center for Healthcare Design was created, and they started doing all this research. And a big research was done in 2000. It's called the Pebble Project, if anyone wants to look it up. But it was a lot of different organizations coming together, but it was very, very much focused on hospitals and how design the design of the space, functionally and aesthetically. How is it impacting the health of the patients in the space? And so there's all kinds of statistics. And what happened is the hospital trended toward changing their environment because of that. And what's interesting is that it is finally starting to trickle down to the doctor's offices. Yeah. So when we started this in 2010, just focused on chiropractic offices. After doing all that work at Life University, as I've told you before, we started just teaching that, hey, your office space impacts your success. It impacts your ROI. But what's interesting is the beginning of this year, kind of led by some questions that came up, I really started documenting the evidence. And it's out there. There's a lot of evidence out there, but quality office environment will make you money.
Yeah, and it's been interesting because I've had a close family member that had pretty big spinal surgery, and the hospital that we were going to was very nice. You could tell they remodeled it, and I remember just thinking, it's like, oh, this is nice, and it stood out. And then same person went up to a physical rehab facility after surgery and decided to go all the way up 45 minutes away. Because had been to this place before for a friend, and it's just nice. And I went and visited, and it's really nice. And it went 45 minutes out of the way to go to that facility because of the psychology around being at a nice physical rehab center. So you could just tell it makes a big difference. So. Let's kind of go into some of the 2025 trends. The last time we had spoke again was in 2022, and then you and your team were kind enough to give my office a facelift. So just a little background on that. I purchased my office real estate in 2013 and did as much as I could at the time, as much as the loan that I took out. It's always fascinating when you buy commercial real estate is, you agree to a price to buy. And then the loan is a whole lot bigger than that because you're buying the real estate. The loan is including the real estate, the build out, furniture, fixtures, equipment. Then they want you to take some overage just in case. And they only give you so much for what you can qualify at the time in 2013. So, I still spent like $125,000 on build out back then, but had to definitely cut some corners. And then I came to you guys because, frankly, it had been about 10 years since we did it. And in 10 years, a lot of things changed, especially in commercial wear and tear, design flows, things of that nature. And so we redid our office. We didn't change the floor plan. I felt pretty good about that, but we really updated quite a few things. And it's been really well received for sure. And is there kind of a long-winded way of getting into the point here of 2025? But is it 7 years, 10 years, 12 years, like where people should really start thinking about refreshing?
Yes, you said it. It's 7 to 10 years. Mm-hmm. And if you think about clothing trends, it's the same things. Any kind of design trend, any cars, any kind of thing that's designed. That cycles every 7 years to 10 years. And so, yes. And it's also interesting that how leases, if people are in leases, how that kind of follows that trend also. So I don't know. Yeah. It's the chicken and the egg, I guess. But really, interior design follows clothing trends. Clothing trends move and change faster than anything. Interior design trends change slower. But if you want me to give you some decorator things. So what I'm talking about is the decorator part, not the flow part, but the decorator part. But some of the decorator things that we see, well, the colors have definitely gotten warmer. We've gotten away from the gray, everything gray. Things have become warmer, but they've also become lighter. A lot of white and a lot of just warmer brown tones. You'll see woods have come back in. They've gotten lighter again, and just softer palettes of the muted colors. The color trends have been that way. If you've seen that, funny. Right?
Yeah, because even we bought our house in 2020. And so it's been 5 years. And when we bought it, we were strongly considering redoing the kitchen. And my wife now is like, we didn't do it because it was 2020. We bought it like 2, 3 months before COVID. And then obviously things got crazy and we're like, I'm not getting involved in renovating a kitchen in August of 2020. And so we didn't do it. And my wife now in 2025 is like, I'm glad we didn't do it because what I wanted to do then, I wouldn't want now. So,
It's hard. It's hard
yeah,
whenever you really, especially if you do something that's, I'm going to call it trendy,
yeah,
right? So the trendier something is, the
mhm,
faster it dates.
yeah,
The more traditional, obvious, is a word I'm going to use. The more
yeah.
traditional things don't date as fast.
Hmm.
So, but it looks, the colors do. Colors will always date. Colors are the
Yeah,
fastest things that date. So yeah, they've just become warmer but yes, I remember the cycle between white and then dark kitchens and then
yeah,
gray kitchens and now we're going back to white kitchens again. Yeah. It's a
yeah.
cycle.
I did in our neighborhood also, like everybody's painting their house white. So yeah, it's fascinating on the design thing. And then I guess also in a 7, 10 years in a commercial space, you're going to get a fair amount of wear and tear, right?
Oh, yes, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, commercial products like commercial carpets and things of that
Hmm.
sort, they'll have a 10 to 20 year wear on it, especially if you do like carpet tiles. We specify carpet tiles a lot because then you can repurpose them and move them around and stop the wear. But paint and walls, they need to be touched up every 2 years or so, just out of the nature of durability, right?
Yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah, we actually just rebought all the paint that the same ones
Yeah.
that you guys had picked out for us. I rebought it because we're making some changes on the rehab side of things and equipment, and it's just going to be time to do some new paint. Not
New
the whole
paint.
thing, but definitely in the rehab area and some of the treatment rooms. Let's take a break from today's episode and announce our first sponsor. This is going to be Propel Marketing and Design. I've known Darcy Sullivan for years. We've worked hand in hand on my websites. I don't trust anybody else to do this search engine optimization. She does a great job. There's so much to it. A lot of the lingo and the words are beyond my comprehension, but it's just amazing work that she does. And if you're really going to get results with Google, you have to make sure your website is SEO optimized. And I really don't want you doing it yourself as a chiropractor. So you just have to have this type of stuff done. And if you're looking to get more organic online traffic that pulls in new patients, Propel Marketing and Design is currently offering chiropractors who listen to this podcast a free SEO website review. The free review will help you uncover methods that will improve your website and boost your search engine visibility. Head over to propelyourcompany.com/chiropractor and schedule your free SEO website review. You won't regret it. She gets great results. Your website needs this. Your search results need this. Head on over there to propelyourcompany.com/chiropractor to get your free SEO website review. On the aesthetics, we'll just stick for the aesthetics for a minute, and then we'll move to the actual workflow of an office. But on the aesthetics, what are some of the trends you're seeing in chiropractic offices?
Well, another one of the trends is we went from real minimalist, very minimalist. Okay. So,
Mhm.
like the white came in and it became very stark.
Mhm.
And now what we're seeing is pops of boldness coming
Oh,
back into it. So, it's not cluttery. And when I say
mhm.
cluttery, it's not lots of little things. We've gotten
Mhm.
rid of the little things but now we're putting some power back into it. We're seeing a lot of use of mural wall covering just to
Oh, yep.
create a pop in a
Mhm.
just creates a pop in a room
Yeah.
besides instead of art.
Mhm.
That becomes the art, but it's bigger and bolder and it's more, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's in your face bright.
Mhm.
It's just big.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of big stuff happening is what I'm trying to
Gotcha.
say, using
Yeah.
big things. I wrote down some other things. Let's see. The
Mhm.
other the other thing we talked about is a lot more texture. So when
Gotcha.
you bring in the warmth, so people understand that nature in your space is healing, okay?
Mhm.
But being more purposeful and intentional about it is happening. And I don't know if that's, as I was telling you a little bit about that design, evidence-based design is
Yeah.
slowly coming down to the office. It's
Mhm.
been in the hospitals for a while, but it's coming, I don't know why it takes so long to come down
Yeah.
to the office, but it's coming down to the office. So we see a lot more wood, a lot more plants, a lot more nature in the
Uh,
space.
Nice, nice. And I'd say dentists seem to have figured this out also for a while. The last few dentists that I've been to, they've got nice offices, and
Yes.
it makes a
Yes.
difference. My wife, we just went to a new dentist as a patient of ours, and just a good trust factor there. I feel like you have to trust your dentist, otherwise they're like filling cavities they don't need to be. But so we went to a new one, and
Go into the dentist. I want to just
yeah,
tell you something in a minute. So dentists really started their change about 20 years ago also.
yeah,
And it was design firms, it was the equipment suppliers were hiring design firms
uh,
to help dentists compete with each other.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so you see it and you make a choice of going to this dentist. They say 75% of your decision is when you first walk in the door before you
mhm,
even meet that person, what you're going to,
yeah,
whether you're going to be there. So yes. So
yeah.
we're seeing that. And I'm going to honestly say when we started this in 2010, 2011, we couldn't find good looking chiropractic offices.
I know it was very few and far between.
But now you can, because I used
Yeah,
to tell our students, don't Google chiropractic offices.
yeah,
Google to find your inspiration. Google
yeah.
dentist offices. But now you can Google
Mhm.
chiropractic offices and find them.
One of the things I wanted to talk about was talent acquisition side of it because, and I'll piggyback what you just said. I graduated in 2005, and my first internship turned into a job.
Hmm.
And I remember the first thing that stood out to me about Dr. Wasserman's office was how nice it was. He had built it. It was a building he built, and he owned it, and he designed it nice. And it was elegant, right? It wasn't over the top, but it was very nice. And that I think he did that in the very early 2000s. I started there in '05, and I remember thinking to myself, I was like, when I walked there the first time, I was like, I want to work here. This is a first class office. And so not only does it matter to your patients, but it also can help people like to work in nice places.
Oh, they do. And it represents who they want to be.
Yeah.
And I don't have it quoted exactly, but I have a doctor we finished in Fairfax. And that was one of the comments he made. He said, I've got people hammering to work here,
Yep.
and now I get to pick the cream of the crop instead of me
Hmm.
trying to find that good associate. They're coming to him because of
Hmm.
his office.
Yeah. No,
Because,
I
and it's
love it.
not just the look of his office. I mean, but when you walk in, he's a cash-based practice and he's
Hmm.
got a lot of other modalities that he's able to offer, but it's the whole wow when you walk in
Hmm.
that this is first class.
It is, and especially if you have a particular niche and how you do it. Like we have a lot of clients that we work with that have rehab, and they
Mhm.
or even a clinic gym hybrid type of model. And so if the aesthetics are important to that, but let's now go to the flow, we'll call it, or the function.
Right.
And that's a big thing. It seems like where people are not matching what their ideal practice style is, or their niche, or their offerings to the space to do that. Let's take a short break for one of our great sponsors, TrackStat. It is a new type of software plugin for your EHR that combines patient communication, marketing, automation, and statistics with patient and employee tracking. Built by chiropractors for chiropractors, it shows your team what to focus on each day. See patient visit habits, missing information, unpaid bills, insurance collection visit average, and more. Great visibility of data so you can focus on filling your office with your best patients. When you can see what your staff and patients are doing or not doing and take action accordingly, your profits naturally grow. Take TrackStat for a test drive in your office with our free trial. Not a techie? No problem. We can help. To get started on your free trial, visit trackstat.org and watch the demo. That is trackstat.org. What are some of the trends you're seeing in 2025 as it relates to the function of space?
I think the biggest thing we're seeing, and it's being dictated by all of the new opportunities, especially for chiropractors to expand their practice beyond straight chiropractic. I
Hmm.
call it the next new shiny object syndrome. But
Hmm.
it's like, let's try this. So creating spaces that have a lot of flexibility.
Yeah.
Though we're working with a doctor right now, just got finished working with them yesterday. who's in the middle of building a building,
Yep.
and it's going to be a year before he's in the space.
Yep.
And so he's going, I don't know everything I'm going to have in a year because I don't think it's been invented yet. So it's that type of mentality that I want to
Mhm.
have, a space that's going to give me the most flexibility.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And that's one thing I like about what you guys do too is kind of interviewing the doctor and figure out like what do you want, right? Like there's
Right.
designing a practice for a straight chiropractor versus a rehab-based chiropractor. Or interestingly enough, we just ordered one of those tonal fitness machines. I had a
Okay.
gentleman on. It's usually it's the in-home workout. It's kind of like think of the Peloton, but for resistance training. And it's really nice and sleek and it's very effective. But there's one doc I had on my podcast. He's got like 7 of them and he's running this whole gym thing and it's great. Now he's kind of training some chiropractors to do it. And so we went, one of our doctors went to that and learned about it. And that's part of what we're doing with our rehab space, right? And doing it. And so what I like about, utilizing a company like yourself where you get to know what that doctor is visioning for their practice and then be able to design the function around it. I think too many times people don't make that connection.
They don't. They don't. And, it's a hard thing too. You were asking me, another trend is the economy has kind of slowed down
Hmm.
the building because building is expensive. It's very
Yeah.
expensive. And COVID kind of pushed it over the edge and slowed everything down.
Hmm.
And it's really never come back.
Yeah.
You'd think that COVID's gone, but
Yeah.
it's hard. And
Uh,
and lead times on things is still
yeah.
out there. It's not as bad as it was with COVID.
Yeah.
So people are just doing more refreshing than they
Hmm.
are building right now is
Well, people are doing that in their
overall.
homes too. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's like no one wants to get out of their 3% mortgage at home. So there's like, it's like that show, Love It or List It, I think it's called, where a whole lot more people are having to love what they got. And that's an opportunity, right? Yeah. So maybe you got 2,000 square feet and in a perfect world, you'd have 4,000, but it ain't happening now. And how do we optimize that? And so I'm assuming this is a kind of a sidebar question, but I'm sure you get people come to you that want to rework the function of their current space and they're
Yes,
obviously in operation. How do you go
yes.
about doing that if they want to rework the function and they are, a full practice? Maybe they take a couple weeks off and get it done in 2 weeks. Like, how does that work?
Well, it depends on the extent of the renovation. Okay.
Yeah.
So what you just said, take a couple of weeks off and do some things. That works if it's a couple of walls
Mhm.
and you can get everything staged ahead of time and then
Mhm.
just do a blast. But you know how long it took just to do the painting and the carpet and the
Yep.
flooring in your office. So
Mhm.
that's probably what, a couple of weeks or so of time to just
Yeah, and
do.
I was able to kind of do it on, I paid extra to do it on weekends and nights and then kind of tease it out over different things and
Right.
to try to limit the disruption. But again, I didn't do any big overhauls other than, yeah, we did replace the flooring. And yeah, you're right. Yeah. So let's say the
You
person's got
have
a,
to move out to replace the flooring.
yeah,
You have to
yeah,
move out. But you can
yeah.
move out a piece at a time. But if you do a major renovation,
Mhm.
sometimes they have to go find temporary space to
Yep.
go function in. And that's
Hmm.
the more you have to weigh everything out. If they own
Yep.
their building, they're more than likely going to do something like that. If they're
Hmm.
leasing, they're going to wait for that. They're going to do a patch until they get the right thing.
Yep.
You have to weigh all the factors out. But
Hmm.
yes, there's some of the common things would be like we're working with a doctor that he's in Florida and he has a 2,000 square foot and he's looking at a 1,500 square foot expansion. He already has
Hmm.
the pad for it, owns the building, et cetera. And, it's kind of like we build that out, we move part of it over there, we do this. Some of that's the
Yep.
logic, but if you're not expanding, you need to find a place
Hmm.
because you don't want that disrupt unless you can function in half your office,
Hmm.
renovate, and then function in half. So
Yeah.
it's a process of working through it. There's not a
Yeah.
black
And
and
I'm
white answer to that.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, but if you do the math and if you're stymied and you know that if you improve the flow and function of your office, you'd be able to increase revenue, then you got to do that math, and it may make sense, right?
Yes, yes, very much so. If you can, if you can double the amount of patients that you see, you can
Yeah.
pay off that renovation pretty fast.
Yeah. Now, are you seeing, because of the cost of everything, people are trying to do more with smaller sizes in chiropractic?
Um, I think chiropractors have always tried to do the smallest size they
That's
can
true.
possibly get.
That's a
I don't
that's
know
a
if that's
very
a trend.
yeah.
I think it's,
That's a
I think
50-year
that
trend.
it is. I think it's that mentality where every single inch of your space needs to be used for something. And it's like, well, sometimes space and margin actually helps create the atmosphere. So don't fill it up, because
Yeah.
they want to fill up functionally every inch and forget about what that does psychologically to the space, if that makes sense too.
It does. And I remember when I did my space, I gave myself some outs, like known outs of like, okay, if we outgrow this, all I got to do is knock this wall, take this bathroom out, because I don't need a bathroom here because we have actually bathrooms, common ones, right outside our door. Um, and I could knock that out all the way into the conference room, and I could expand a rehab area if needed. We haven't needed to do that, but we could. I have outs to really expand the space,
Yeah.
and that's been helpful.
So that what you just described is when we take a doctor through a floor plan,
Mhm.
we do exactly what you said. We look at all the different possibilities
Mhm.
so that our goal is to make sure that there's no, you walk into space, what if I had done this? We want to
Yeah,
answer as many what ifs as possible and
yeah.
give that kind of opportunity to expand. I'm also really big on all your offices being about the same size.
Mhm.
So that is, I've coined 9 by 12 is a perfect size office for anything, just about
It's funny.
anything.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's a question people have always asked, and I never found the answer to that. So 9 by 12, perfect.
Yes. And you know where that came from is when the first time I really did a clinic
Yeah.
was at Life University, and we built out the public clinic that they had.
Hmm.
And we had a building that already had spaces in it. And they were, as anyone, they're on a budget. So I ended up working with a whole committee of, they were professors or
Hmm.
doctors that were teaching clinic, just analyzing how much space you needed around the equipment, how much everything. And out of that, we came up with this ideal 9 by 12.
Hmm.
And so I can validate it exactly
Yeah.
how it came up with it. But
That's
it
good.
works for an x-ray room. It works for a massage room. It works for adjusting room. It works for most of your exam rooms.
Yeah.
It
Personal
works.
office.
Personal
Cool.
office.
Let's take a short break from today's episode to tell you about the best decision I've made in my clinic in the last 10 years. And that has been adding shockwave therapy to our clinic. The outcomes have been really impressive. Certain conditions we were struggling with in the past, we're now seeing results with the shockwave therapy for that. And second of all, the ROI has been really good. When you make a big investment in something, you want to see a return. And we're seeing that return in clinical outcomes and in our investment. And that's been really nice to see. I chose Keenest Medical for 4 reasons. One is the technology is top notch. You have to have great technology. There's a lot out there that isn't quite up to snuff. The second thing is they have a really good clinical training. They have an exclusive partnership with Academy of Shockwave Excellence so that you can become clinically proficient in shockwave. You do need to get skilled at it. I think that's a big differentiator between practices that are getting great results and seeing the ROI is they have a great clinical aspect to that as well. So you want to get trained appropriately. Third is they have in-house service team for all of your technical support, which is key when you're investing in a machine like this. And then lastly, they have a very in-depth marketing and business support for you so that you can launch this into your practice effectively, that you can get that ROI on it, that you can get the clinical outcomes. And they also have really good financing options if you need that. So go to KeenestMedical.com, KINAS medical.com, mention MCM podcast and receive a free shockwave in practice book with a purchase of a unit. So that's KeenestMedical.com, KINAS medical.com, and mention MCM podcast. It's you kind of mentioned like the different trends in chiropractic. We're seeing more people go into integrated clinics. So you might need more space there. You might need sinks in rooms.
Yes.
If you got some nurse practitioners stuff like that. I mentioned a lot of folks do the open rehab or the clinic gym hybrid. So you got to obviously plan for that. There's people getting a lot of modalities like shock waves and lasers and things like that. And do you want to eat up an entire room for a shock wave, or if you had a more like a 20 by 20 room that could double as you got a table over there to do laser and then you got area to do rehab, like that might be something to consider. Are you seeing a lot less people doing like the bowling alley office where it's just like a really narrow and it's just a hallway with rooms on the side? Are you seeing less of that design unless someone's just moving in and not changing anything?
Wow, lots of questions.
I know.
I,
I just,
so the one, moving in and
yeah.
not changing anything has a lot to do with your finances.
Yeah.
Okay. So and working with students and things, it's like just get up and go and
Mhm.
get in as inexpensively as you can. If you can
Perfect.
make the space work, make it work. But there
Mhm.
is going to be a point where that space not designed for you is going to
Yeah.
start impeding your flow and your
Mhm.
efficiency. And then that's when you need to move or
Yeah.
renovate or something of that sort.
Perfect.
Does that answer that question? So
Yeah,
it's where
that
you
and
are in the process.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I guess and then the second part of that was is like, are people coming you to design their office and they're saying, yeah, I just want the hallway with the
Oh,
rooms all along the side? Are they saying I want maybe this side of it, I want it to be this open 15 by 20 to where we're going to do multiple things there, but in an open setting, and then I want four rooms on this side for the more privacy side of things. What are the thoughts on some of that layout?
um,
There's-
I don't think that there's a trend one way or the other.
Gotcha.
I think it just
Mhm.
depends on the doctor.
Mhm.
Um, for example, you were saying there are some things that really do need to be in a closed room. A
Yeah.
shockwave is loud,
Yeah, it is.
and it's
Mhm.
annoying to other people,
Mhm.
right? So
Yep.
being able to and anything that people disrobe at all and
Mhm. Yep.
does need to be well, a shockwave we typically put in a drywall room with
Yep.
acoustics around it because it's so noisy and it's
Yep.
annoying to everyone in the space.
Mhm.
Um, but if they don't have to disrobe, it can be in more of an open area.
Well,
And
I'm
if they
glad
do
you.
disrobe, you can put curtains around it as long as it's not noisy. You have
Yeah,
curtains in your
I
space, yeah?
do. Yeah, because we did that and we use it for laser for out there. But yeah, to your point, we have shockwave and we have it in a room. And as we reimagine our rehab area, we're going to move laser out there. We're going to move certain things out there. We're not moving the shockwave out of there because it is too loud. And so if someone is going to want to get shockwave or multiple shockwaves or have a shockwave and a laser, like you got to take that in consideration in your design.
Exactly, exactly. So, and then trying to find that perfect size space so that if there's a new laser shockwave combo in the future,
Yeah.
you have that space for that.
Yeah, and you got to have
The other
flexibility.
thing is decompression machines. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Decompression started like just bigger than a table.
yeah.
Now we have the ones that, what are they, like 15 feet wide? They're just
Yes.
huge. So, yeah,
So you probably have some people where you have to like design a room just for the
yeah.
decompression.
Just for the decompression. Yes, you do.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Um, do you find chiropractors making mistakes on having enough space for, I'm going to get a two-part question. A is for
Okay.
storage and B is for team members. Are you seeing, like people making mistakes there?
Storage is one of those things that when we do our analysis, it's
Mhm.
an item we already have in there is storage. We talk about, what are you storing? If you're selling products,
Yeah.
are you going to have to keep them in your space? Are you going to,
Mhm.
if you've got big marketing stuff, what are you going to do and keep in your space?
Mhm.
What happens as pretty much, I'm going to say it's a natural tendency to underestimate how much space you really need to do what you want to do.
Mhm.
And so what tends to get squeezed out is storage, which is
Yeah.
sad because what happens is then it ends up clutter all over the office because you still have the stuff.
Mhm.
So we see less, obviously, well, I'm not going to say obviously, there's still people with travel carts out there,
Yep.
but yeah, but most people don't have files anymore. It's all
Mhm.
digital. So that's helped with that storage. We used to have to plan filing rooms, to handle that. So,
I had one doc that also he just bit the bullet and he had a storage unit off site for things that were
Yes.
not, if there was a water issue in a storage unit, because that can happen, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but it was particular things, and I'm sure you've seen that before too.
Yeah, so things that we talk about that depending on what your lease rate is or how
Yep.
much money it is, you don't want to store stuff. I mean, use marketing material for an example. If you're
Mhm.
going to use marketing material and you're only going to use it once a month, why are you when I say material, I mean like tables and
Yeah,
banners and
banners
the
and
whole
tents.
trade show stuff, things that
Mhm.
really take up a lot of room that, not it depends on your rent, right? It
Yep.
depends. If you're
Yep.
in a high rent district, you don't want to spend that square footage money on
It's
stuff
yeah,
that you're in.
very true. And
So
then how
I'm sure
about
your
team
friend
mem?
had did a same
Yeah,
similar thing. Okay, yes, you're going to
yeah,
ask me what team
yeah. How about the
members?
team members? Yeah, are you seeing
They
people?
get the littlest space they possibly. I mean, they're little bitty cubbies,
Yeah,
multi doctor rooms with, they get maybe 4 feet that they can work, and
yeah.
no one wants them in there. The doctors that have team members, they don't need to be in there.
Mhm.
They don't need to be in there. So they need to be working with patients. So
Yeah,
yeah, the team members get squeezed a lot. And
yeah.
we don't do a lot of independent doctors' offices either, unless like
Interesting.
yourself, you have a reason to shut the door and be in a private room or meet
Yeah.
with people in a business setting.
Hmm.
That's different than your typical just being a doctor where you just need a
Yeah.
space to do your reports, if you follow me.
Yeah, no, for sure. Makes a lot of sense. So, all right, perfect. Now, kind of lastly, like, what's your compelling pitch on the importance of really having an office that you're proud of? The functionality is what you need, and then the aesthetics are fresh, nice, and it's remarkable. Like, what's your pitch to the chiropractor that's always like, I don't know if I want to invest that kind of money to do that.
Well, when I went through this evidence, we created a new report called the Design Trends of 2025, and it was all based
Mhm.
on this evidence-based design and some of those things I've talked to you about. But when you start to really look at the statistics that
Mhm.
hospitals have looked at for 20 years to make money, you understand that great design will make you money.
Yeah, it will. And I guess you're probably also, I will say, and I'm glad a lot of chiropractors are starting to charge more money. And when I say that, they're either not taking insurance at all, which means you're charging more money, or they have higher rates. And it's really hard to charge more or be quote unquote expensive or not the most affordable, and your office kind of look like shit. Like that's a hard combination to pull off.
Well, I think we probably talked about this when we talked about in psychology,
Yeah.
because if you think about when you walk into a store,
Hmm.
did we talk about the difference between Walmart and we may have. I'll just talk about it
Just
again.
go for it. Yeah, do it
You
again.
walk it, you walk into a store. So your
Hmm.
doctor's office is a combination of retail design and hospitality design.
Hmm.
Retail is that first impression. It's
Yeah.
the package around the product that you're selling.
Hmm.
And if it doesn't match what you're selling, it's a disconnect and it makes it harder to sell.
Gotcha.
So think about if you walked into a Walmart and you want to buy a diamond ring. Yes, you
Mhm.
can buy a diamond ring in Walmart, but are you going to pay the same price as you would if you walked into Neiman Marcus to buy the diamond ring?
Yeah, no.
And is the quality that much different? Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
I'm I'm not a diamond
Probably
expert,
not. Yeah.
but it's the idea that what you have to offer is packaged in something that's respectful and appreciated, that people will pay for it.
Yep.
And they
And
will. And
and
we've got testimonies of, I have one that
mhm.
she's an associate doctor, and she was saying that when they just moved into, this is the same Fairfax office
Mhm.
I was telling you earlier, but when she was doing a presentation report of
Mhm.
findings and she presented the care package plan,
Yeah.
she said she looked up and behind her there was this beautiful wall covering, and she said she just stopped and
Mhm.
they bought immediately. She said it was so easy, but it was her I'm worth it
Yeah.
changed. Do you
Mhm.
know? Because she felt worth it. So there's that it's hard to say, is it changed to the doctor or is it
Yeah.
changed to the patients or a little of both? I'm sure it's
There's
both.
a there's a lot, and even like the referability, right? Like I had to get a
Yes.
quick dinner last night before doing a little talk, and I went to this little Italian place, and it was like a real small mom and pop Italian. The guy was nice, the food was good, prices were fair, but it was kind of a dump, like, and I know my wife just wouldn't eat there. Like I kind of like dumps. Like I always joke around. It's like I can eat at a Roach Coach, construction mobile, and I can eat at a I could have a $60 steak, or I could sleep at the Ritz-Carlton, or I could, sleep on the floor in a camper. It doesn't matter to me. I have this wide range, but I do appreciate nice things. But a lot of people, like my wife, like she just wouldn't want to go to that Italian restaurant because it wasn't nice inside. It wasn't clean really. And that's the same thing is referability is going to increase when people walk in. It's like, wow, that is nice. And it's a good doctor. You got to be a good doctor, but it's nice.
And that's another documented thing is people will refer because they're proud. They're proud to go to your doctor. Something else we talked about is that the doctor that's been in business for 20, 30 years, and he hasn't changed his space, and he's got a good living because he's got patients that love him and come to him on a regular basis and all of that. Now he wants to sell.
Yeah.
And he's got a patient base, but those patients come for him.
Yeah.
So when he's not there, that's a hard transition, right? And the cost of that, the practice value is lowered because of what the new doctor is going to have to do to it to bring it up to speed. So it's an interesting, there's a lot of doctors that don't feel like they have to do anything because they're doing fine.
Yeah.
But there will become a point, where they're going to have
multifaceted, that's for sure. And it's, and I want to be also cognizant of the fact that not everybody listening to this can frankly afford it right now. But that's why it's so important that you build a thriving practice that has good profit margins, because it's not just that you're, hiding money under your mattress, you're buying the Maserati. It's that you need to be able to reinvest and have capital expenditures into your practice, into your team, so that you're growing. And that's why it is important to become even better, because as you're saying, as the evidence shows, is that people will get better in their health by going to specifically designed type nice places that they feel good about.
I will. So we didn't really talk about this, but I do have a free resource that for that doctor that really doesn't have the money. What do I need to do?
Perfect.
And it's 5 ways. The name of it, I'm going to read it. 5 ways to instantly upgrade your office image. And I will give you a link to download it that you can share in the show notes. But what it is, it's basically a checklist that as a designer, it's the first 5 things we look at.
Gotcha.
And we always tell you to, and it's in this document, it's like, you can't look at it. You got to bring someone else in because you've lived in it too much. You don't see it anymore. Yeah. But bring in another person that's trusted, ideally someone that's going to be just like your ideal patient, and walk through this checklist. But cleanliness, wear and tear, things like that, it matters. Is it dated stuff, lighting? There's things that can be changed pretty cost effectively and make a difference.
And then how can they find out more information if they want to get in touch with you and get this figured out for themselves?
Get that figured out. So our company's name is Crossfields, and our website is crossfieldsdesign.com. Perfect.
Well, Carolyn, this was great. And we'll have to do another one on more updates as we go along, but thanks for sharing a lot of good new information. And I really was appreciative of the evidence behind this. That's good stuff.
Good stuff. Yeah, that's one of our free resources too. I'll send that link too.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And if you want to make the shift from busy, broke, and broken to time-free and cash confident, or you just want to continue with the exponential growth, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com. Look at the MCM Mastery tab, watch the short video on there, and check out what we are doing now for evidence-informed chiropractors. We are equal parts coaching and marketing done for you. Yes, you shoot some videos. We help you with campaign strategies and ideas and really become a thought leader in your community. You shoot those videos, you send them to us, we produce, edit, and brand them to you. Then we distribute them through all of your channels. We also take them and we turn it into one good blog per month. And every other month, we have Darcy Sullivan producing a robust blog with a topic that you pick from her database to help with your SEO. So we essentially become your content marketing agency to make sure your practice is always having ethical, elegant content marketing to help grow your practice. On the coaching side, we also help you with everything from marketing ideas to business, communications, finances, anything practice growth, and really try to help prevent you from being stuck on that island. And we hold you accountable. We have a great group of doctors that are just doing amazing things, and we look forward to help you out to take that next step in your practice. So again, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com and learn more.